Two more are in for Michigan football. Signing day is essentially a wrap for the Wolverines. There's plenty more to get into when it comes to the class. Plus, I want to cover a couple Michigan misperceptions or conceptions, rather. Let's do that right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. And thank you for making us your first listen. Thank you so much to all of our everydayers out there. Completely forgot to mention Locked On, the number one sports network. It is. Look it up. Well, I don't know if you can look it up, but it is. I'm telling you that. We are going to cover a bunch of different things. Recruiting, first two segments. First, we'll just kind of go more sequential for the day. And then we're going to essentially get into some misconceptions that I see out there. I want to address some rivalry stuff. And I think it's somewhat long overdue. But nonetheless, let's get into it. The day starts, and man, after as long of a day as it was yesterday, I could not wake myself up. Like, I normally get up around like 8:30. That's about when I wake up. I saw when Savion Hiter officially signed with the Wolverines. I could not wake up. I tried to. You ever have that where you just can't get up? So finally, around like 9:30 rolls around, I open my eyes. I publish the story. That's all I really had to do was publish my pre-write. I just couldn't do it. But still, that is huge. It's like I said yesterday, no one was particularly concerned. I understand that there were a lot of people that were hand-wringing and all of that kind of stuff. But there was no, based off of just like the feelers I put out there, no one was particularly concerned about landing Hiter, about that job being finished. And I saw like some of the tweets out there from Vol Nation, just all excited, thinking like, oh, it's happening. Like, it just wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. Like, he's a Michigan guy through and through. His relationship with Tony Alford was going to stand stronger than whatever Tennessee was throwing at him, or Virginia Tech or anyone else. And it wasn't that there were any overtures that were, changing things. You can go to Maize and Blue Review and talk and see what my guy Josh Henschke wrote. He and I talked about it a bit yesterday. He had some good intel there that I haven't seen anywhere else. But no one was particularly concerned about Hiter, and that's huge. Like, I know that there's people that were like, oh no, what if Justice Haynes comes back? How do you handle? Like, he's gonna play. How much he plays is somewhat up to him, right? Because if you end up being the best running back, even as a true freshman, you're going to end up starting over Haynes or Marshall, right? Like, that's just how that works. But I think obviously the speed of the game is different. It takes time. I think you'll see more time than maybe even Donovan Edwards did in his freshman year. And Donovan almost like offensively single-handedly won the game for Michigan against Maryland in his first year through being the pass-catching running back. But Hiter is an absolute game-changing type of guy. Look no further to my guy, E.J. Holland, who's, when he was covering high school football in Texas, he's in Virginia now, but when he was in Texas, he covered a lot of really, really good recruits. And he said that he puts him in the same category as Bijan Robinson and J.K. Dobbins. I think he's comparable to J.K. Dobbins in a lot of ways. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Hiter's going to be able to do. This is the top rated running back that Michigan's signed, at least in the modern era of recruiting. Number 8 overall. I mean, Edwards was a 5-star on 24/7 Sports, and that was it. Otherwise, he was a 4-star elsewhere. You look at some of the 5-stars Michigan's had. Ty Isaac and granted he came via transfer portal. Derek Green, they were not rated nearly this high. Obviously, none of those guys worked out particularly well. But this is like it. Basically, when you hear what any scout has to say about Savion Hiter, he is about as can't miss as you can get. So it's going to be interesting when you pair that with the other guys and hopefully an ascendant passing game. I know everyone wants to hand wring. Everyone wants to melt down. People were just still melting down last night. And, because I just feel like that's what Michigan fans wanted to do. But I think that Hiter's got, number one, he's in. So you all can kind of breathe that sigh of relief and everything. And I think that he's just going to be a knockout punch for Michigan in the run game. As for the second part of what's happened today, there's multiple things here, obviously, but you have the two flips. And that's first Bijan Robinson flips to Stanford. I know that sucks. He plays really good high school competition. He's 6'3", kind of in that exact mold of the type of guy you want. Hadn't really seemed to waver at all throughout the recruiting process, only to flip the day after signing day. Well, best of luck to him, right? Obviously, we're going to get to Brady Marchese here momentarily in segment 2, but that one doesn't sting as much because you made up for it pretty much immediately. But that still stings. I think the one that stings the most, obviously, is Julian Walker, who, when he committed, I think if memory serves, he was like a borderline, like a tweener 3-4 star. And what I mean by that is not like in terms of ability, but like some of the recruiting services had him as a 4-star, kind of a middling 4-star. One, I think, had him like higher, like up like 150-ish, 130-ish, something like that. And then one of them had him at like a 3, but he ended up finishing as a consensus 4-star with rivals having him in 5-star range at number 26 overall. So to lose him sucks. I mean, you got Tariq Boney. You've got, I forgot in my article, this is how this works sometimes. I forgot to even mention Carter Meadows, the highest rated commit Michigan has. That's just a complete slip of the mind with a tired day, apparently, after signing day. But, I mean, you've still got a couple edge rushers there. But Julian Walker kind of had that feeling to me. Like, it's like Carter Meadows has to fill out a little bit more, I think, before he starts to see the field. I mean, maybe he's a year one guy. But, he's probably going to be a force year 2 forward. He's got the tangibles, the intangibles, all that stuff, but you still want to bulk him up a little bit. And Julian Walker was already there, and it just doesn't sound like there was anything Michigan was going to be able to do, considering everything that, just everything working against them. It's just with the dad being at South Carolina, strength and conditioning. And that's the thing I said yesterday, that Michigan should have just said, like, we really want your son. How would you feel about a change in location? Because it's not like you have numbers there, right? Like you can, I guess the question is how good is he as a strength and conditioning coach? I don't know. But ultimately, it sounds like being developed by his father was something that ended up being important to him. And you weren't going to beat that unless you made those moves. And maybe Michigan did. And maybe he said, like, nah, I want to stay at South Carolina. I don't know. But that's the move that I would have made if I could have. But that one stings a little bit more, but I think everyone was kind of ready for the possibility for a while, right? Because I think even the moment he committed, it was kind of like, well, let's hang on until signing day. Let's see what happens. Got him on campus for the game. Didn't work out that way. Best of luck to him. It just sucks because it always seems like Michigan always loses guys that it just seems like in recruiting battles against South Carolina, Michigan does not come up well. Whether it's a Nick Harbor or I'm going to forget everybody, but like, it just seems like every other year there's some recruiting battle with South Carolina and Michigan pretty much whiffs on all of them except for like maybe CJ Stokes. So it is what it is. We've got more to cover as far as this post signing day 2, whatever you want to call it, Electric Boogaloo. We're going to get to more, including Brady Marchese and what I'm hearing about Kelvin Russell. Let's get to that here in just a moment. But before we do the holidays, they're officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is a gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't just your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it into memories, they're already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Listen, my grandma has one of these. She absolutely loves it. She points it out every single time that I am at her house, which is usually about once or twice a week. Although not as much in this last month, not that that matters. With endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app, you can just continue to load it up. And the great thing is there's a personalized message right inside the frame, so the gift feels thoughtful the moment that it's open. Packaging comes gift ready. There's no price tag. There's no wrapping needed. It's a huge win. It's a holiday gift that actually gets used. It doesn't get forgotten in a drawer, and it's something that is always going to bring up cherished memories. It's an incredible, incredible gift. So for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using the promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code college. This deal's exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so a couple of things happened after that. We're just, like I said, we're going sequential order here, essentially. Just a half hour ago, not even, from the time that I am sitting here saying this, Michigan ends up flipping Brady Marchese after all from Georgia. If you don't recall, back in June, because he visited May 30th, that first weekend he visited, and there was all this scuttlebutt of, oh, he's going to flip from Georgia. And it took it didn't even last, I don't think, a full day, if memory serves. And he shut down his recruitment, reaffirmed to Georgia, all said and done. And everyone moved on. And it was like, well, Michigan boosted his NIL, that type of thing, right? He got what he wanted. But ultimately, here we are, second day in the signing period, and Marchese is officially blue. He's signed, he's sealed, he's delivered, he's all of that. It was kind of funny being in the Instagram live. First off, hi, Luke DeMello. I saw you in there. My good friend, Luke. But it's just funny seeing all the Georgia people be like, what are we worried about? We're Georgia. Only to see him start off by hold up his phone and being like, first off, I'd like to thank Coach Smart. And it's like, you knew where that was going immediately, right? Like, it's not just, you don't start off with that. You just say, that's just the obvious, like he's reading the decommitment post that would normally go on, if it wasn't signing day, it would go on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. But that's big for Michigan. 6'1", 185. He's got speed. He's not like the fastest guy in the world. Does run about 22 miles an hour, though. I mean, so that is pretty fast. It's going to be interesting to see how he fits in, but he's a guy that you feel like you can move around. So ultimately, pretty good wide receiver haul for Michigan. You would have liked Bijan Robinson. But to have a guy that I think is going to play right away in Travis Johnson, a guy that I think is also probably ready to be a relatively early contributor in Brady Marchese. And it'll be interesting to see with Jalen Pyle. I know not everyone's that high on him. I'm higher than most. I think that Jalen Pyle might not be a year one guy, but he could be like a year 2, year 3 guy. I think he'll be one of those guys that just kind of, you don't hear as much. And then suddenly it's like, this guy came from out of nowhere. That's what I think. Got something in my eye here. There we go. I think, hopefully. I already blink enough on camera. I don't need to be blinking that much more. All right. So that is huge. But what about Kelvin Russell? Because there are some people who, like, it was kind of, I think it started with Pete Nakos, and what he posted is that, when he went up on his signing day thing and said, I'm not signing with Syracuse today. Again, memories, if not your memory serves, Kelvin Russell basically was Michigan's top target at wide receiver. He's the one that they decided, like, that's the guy that we're going to go after. EJ Holland brought something up on his board that reminded me that I forgot about, that Sherrone Moore went out to LA to meet up with Chris Henry. And decided, okay, we're gonna put the NIL basket towards Kelvin Russell. And Michigan was basically hell-bent on getting him. It looked like they were going to get him, only for him to delay his announcement and end up committing to Syracuse, turning off a lot of people in the process. Like, basically, Michigan was told he was coming. Based from everything that I've been told, talking to people really close to the situation, Michigan was told, like, yeah, he's he's basically in. Like, you guys are going to be really happy here in a few moments, only for him to go completely MIA for like an hour, a half hour, whatever, however long it was, show up and say he's committing to Syracuse. It was like a complete bait and switch happened. Like, I don't think that was the intended plan. I think Syracuse went all in and all of that. But Miami doesn't seem like they want anything to do with him either, even though he flashed the U at some point during the festivities yesterday. And from what, there's people that are speculating, especially because Pete Nackos put out there, like, Michigan and Miami are in contact with him. And then he posted right after that, said Miami's not in contact with him. It makes everyone say, like, oh, they're making a swing. Unless it's, let me put it this way. If the Bryce Underwood recruitment was one where there were only a couple people clued in, that's why there was such a gulf of information. Is like, if you were talking to the wrong people, if you were like someone in my profession, you were talking to one of the wrong people, you had a completely different idea of what was going on in the Bryce Underwood situation. Okay. And that's why, like, on this show, we were like, it looks like Michigan's going to get Bryce Underwood. We were zagging while everyone else was zigging. And, I was getting laughed at by a lot of my colleagues and stuff. They were like, and like, publicly and privately, like, I got text messages from people saying, like, he's not coming. like it's hilarious that you think he's coming. And it's like, he just is, though, in the words of the way that my good friend Clayton Safe would say, he just is, though. And that happened. But again, that was because certain people, they weren't talking to the right people. Right? Like, there were a lot of people within the Michigan ecosphere, within Schembechler Hall, that were very much in the dark. Now, I use that to preface, just to basically say, as far as I've heard, Michigan is not interested in pursuing Kelvin Russell. But I might be the one who is in the dark here. But comparing notes with some of my colleagues, I don't think that that's the case. So I would be surprised if Michigan ended up with Kelvin Russell. It doesn't mean that it won't happen. I'm not just hedging my bets. I'm aware that there's a power structure in the new world of NIL. That means that not the people that you used to be able to get like rock solid 100% information from, you're not going to necessarily get that if it ends up being an NIL play. Or, like, the head coach can go a little bit further than maybe like someone in the recruiting department or the people who are actively recruiting him through the process, that type of thing. So I would not expect Kelvin Russell to end up in this class. I'll put it that way. But obviously, there could be a change of heart, change of mind. I think that Michigan's probably best standing pat at where they're at because, yeah, talent's great, but when there's this much trouble kind of going through it all. And I understand, like, Brady Marchese smoke and it had changed, right? Like, that's more recruiting, but it just kind of feels like there's a little bit more drama going on over in the Kelvin Russell world. As much as you want to get a top flight wide receiver, one that they had identified as being the potential best in the class, I just wouldn't touch it personally. But, like, we'll see if that changes. I don't know. It's the world of college football. Heck, Chris Henry Jr. looks like he's headed to Eugene, which 3 days ago, I don't think anyone really would have believed that. That's how quickly things change. Let's address a couple of misconceptions about Michigan football. There's just a couple, nothing huge, but we're going to get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, NFL Sundays move fast, as do NFL Thursdays with your Detroit Lions. One big play, suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips. after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads, money lines, they adjust instantly. Player props can update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every single snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com, and you can place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, first off, I want to address this made-up controversy from Ohio State. And I want to go a little further than that. I want to just kind of like take things reset for a second here. But if you haven't been following along, Ohio State's trying to make up a controversy saying like our comms stopped working, and we were prepared for it because we knew that there was going to be some kind of tomfoolery and all of this kind of stuff. Like Michigan gave a statement to ESPN saying like it was a stadium issue. Even our own staff came over to help make sure it was fixed, whatever. From everything I've heard, it was like basically the very end of the game anyway. Like it's a non-issue ultimately, especially to the team that ended up winning, right? Like you're just trying to build up more reasons to make yourself the hero in your own story. But it's hilarious seeing like how like Michigan people have paid no attention to this, rightfully so. But Ohio State people, like I've seen the threads on Twitter and they make it sound like it's freaking Iwo Jima out there or something. I don't know. And it just kind of like Ryan Day, I thought you said you were going to win with humility. I'm not saying you can't mention it, but like the turning it into this big story and it's absurd, and it's like beneath like the quote humility of it all. You beat Michigan, you dominated Michigan fair and square. So it doesn't need to be a thing. And it's just like, it just doesn't. And that brings me to the next part, which is the Ohio State fandom. I responded to a tweet from Jory Alston yesterday. And he was just saying, like, what is up with these Ohio State fans? Like, you have to be in my mentions every moment. And I can concur, like right after the game, I mean, like you can go see for yourself. I blocked some people, so you might have to click whatever. I don't care if they want to be like, oh, soft, blocked me. I'm like, I don't want to live a life where I'm just in a constant stage of like war against other people. I want peace. My job is not to acquiesce to you Ohio State fans. It's to entertain and inform Michigan fans. That's my job. That right there, that's my job. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm not, I'm really not any of the things that you want to, like, you give me way too much credit in a lot of ways. But ultimately, they flocked, and there were some that said that they wished I died and things of that nature, which is just carrying things way too far. Meanwhile, I was actually texting with some Ohio State players after the game. So figured that whole scenario out. Nonetheless, it's to me, if you're an Ohio State fan, number one, you shouldn't care at all what someone like me has to say. My job, like I said, is in the Michigan media. My audience is Michigan fans. And I understand. I'm going to say things like, hey, I think Michigan's going to be able to run the football better than Ohio State, because all of the evidence up until the game essentially showed you that was what should happen. And it didn't work out that way. But I've said time and time again, you play the game for a reason. And it's not that I'm defending myself here. It's more that, why do you care so much? Especially after you won the game. Why is it that after you win the game, you have to try to build yourself up even more as a hero beyond what it is? And like, who's like running to rival reporter accounts to like gloat after a game? Like, that is much like a lot of the people, like the J Books out there. J Book, you were at 24/27 right here on the show. Much like the people like that who like to clip the show, and there was someone else that clipped the show and all this stuff. Like, the fact that you watch this show so religiously, not in the sense of like, I just want to I want to know what the Michigan side is. I want to know what the people over there are thinking and just what's going on with their team. Like I like and respect that if you are a Buckeye that watches and listens to the show. Like, this isn't an attack against all Buckeyes. This is an attack against the idolatrous ones whose God I essentially offended by saying anything not 100% glowing about your football team, right? Or because I had the audacity to say anything positive about Michigan in my 11-year tenure of covering this team. Okay. Get a grip. That's all I got. If you are an Ohio State fan, again, not all Ohio State fans. Half of my family are Ohio State fans. Half of them. My entire dad's side of the family, Ohio State fans. I have plenty of Ohio State friends. That don't mean to make that sound like I'm not even going to go there. But like, my buddy Brian down in Columbus, he lives in Dublin. I love Brian. He's one of my good friends, right? Like, we can interact without it becoming like some weird vitriolic event. And we can have our little jabs back and forth without them becoming nasty and ridiculous. So, like, I can't post a picture of Zuri without having a bunch of Ohio State fans in my mentions who have taken several mental leaps into creating this narrative that I'm like this horrible person who does horrible things, or who wants to twist my faith. They tried to twist my faith against me. Like, I don't think Jesus would appreciate, like, well, maybe you should read the Bible and understand what the Bible's actually about. It's about grace, saved by grace through faith. It's not about being a perfect person. Because if you're looking for a perfect person, this guy's not it. This guy's hypocritical and absurd and sinful, all of those things. Basically, to the Ohio State fans here that I'm talking to, again, not all Ohio State fans. So many of you are lovely. That's why I featured a couple of you on the mailbag 2 days ago. But the ones that are so hyper-focused, and as I would say, idolatrous, go outside, touch grass, touch snow. Find something else in your life that is important. Because if, like, this is how you treat a stranger, some of you with Bible verses in your bios, which I would just wonder what God you serve there. Just touch grass. Find something else important in life, because trust me, and I mean, the same goes for any Michigan fan that acts the same going the other way. But this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be about connecting with your fellow man over teams you root for or root against, right? Like, I became friends with Brian when we both were working at United Talent Agency. We started the same day. He's from Ohio. He's a big Ohio State fan. I'm from Michigan. I went to Michigan, and we would watch games together. And it was all in good fun. Like, yeah, we would talk smack, but like, it was all in good fun. So like, get back to that, because how is this fun for you? It can't be. Last thing that I wanted to touch on, as I saw some like article that said Dave Portnoy is not going to pledge any more money to Bryce Underwood. He was not the one providing the money for Bryce Underwood. That's been a misconception for the longest time. It pretty much solely was, not solely, but like, he was not involved. Everyone kept on saying in the time, like, oh, Dave Portnoy did it. No, it was Larry Ellison and Jolene. So I just want to clear that. That's not a slight against Dave, but like, credit needs to go where the credit's due. So as far as I know, the first dime provided to Bryce Underwood from Dave Portnoy would be the first. The next one would be the first. Again, it's not against Dave. I've met Dave a few times. He's a fun character. He's done a lot to raise the visage of Michigan in modern media. So, more power to him, but like, that's not really a story. So I just wanted to kind of squash that right now. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We don't have a game to preview tomorrow. So Connor's going to be next week. I'm going to push Jack to next week as well. Just have a little bit of a cooling off period, especially given we had signing day this week. So we'll find some more topical things to talk about in the week. But thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.